And then brought it back 2 days before that. I had a tractor at home in Perry Island to be worked on, had to bring it back.
Yeah,
I could take corn off the brakes and all that.
all at once, right?
I've never done
Presentation too. I don't know if you want me to do that first.
Once they, so you will, they'll open up the case
Right,
and then they'll ask you for your applicant's presentation.
because you got a copy of my letter that I sent to Audra,
Yes, you're okay.
and the other application would be, and I have stuff I'll take care of.
Corey, I just want to check and make sure you can hear us okay before we start.
That answer your question?
You're on mute, Corey.
Yeah.
This is iPhone.
No, here we go. Now it says tap to unmute. I found it. Okay, I think I'm good. Good.
We'll go ahead and start now then.
Okay.
All right. Welcome to the Zoning Board of Adjustments. It's July 15th, 2025. And huh? Oh, I thought he said something. We're gonna get a member's roll call, please.
Pat Collins,
Here.
Ted Golka,
Here,
Corey Like,
Here.
Jennifer Warren,
Here.
Heather Gentleman,
Here.
Matt White's here from the staff, and Jack Sayers, Board of Supervisors. Here.
I need a review, action, and approval of the current meeting agenda.
motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Ted, second by Pat. We need a review, action, approval of the previous meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Approved by Ted and second by. New business, discussion, formal action on conditional use permit application 25-07 for the proposed third accessory dwelling unit located at 55027 195th Street, Pacific Junction in Oak Township, Les Hills Conservation Development District. Can we get the applicant's presentation, please?
Yes. Here. So you know my name, Ted Albrecht. I've been a resident at 55027 195th Street for 16 years. I've worked as a general contractor in Glenwood and the surrounding communities, rural areas, sometimes in Omaha and Council Bluffs. I'm at this meeting in order to ask for a conditional use permit for my property. Within the time that I lived where I'm at, I built 2 small cabins behind my house. Before construction, I inquired at the courthouse about any necessary permits or inspections I might need. I was told that there was no inspector in Mills County and that they had no zoning or permitting. It seems as though the laws have changed, or the people I asked were unaware of what was required. Recently, I find that there are permits and inspections to do in order to approve the dwellings. I've been cooperating with the local county zoning to ensure my buildings are legally compliant. I briefly summarize the written plea you received. The buildings are for personal use and for friends and family who travel through to visit and want to spend some quiet time in the woods on the Les Hills. The buildings are appropriate in size and scale in the context of my lot and our neighborhood. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Do we need to read the letter you sent in there?
It's his statement.
So that's. Did you guys have a chance to read the letter? So next we'll do public comment.
Tom's my neighbor. He might have a public comment.
I moved to the property south of Ted's place June July of 2022, Alaska military brought me down here. And we've been nothing but amicable since.
Okay.
I'm aware of the concern we do have, and I believe it's easily rectifiable, but the property line seems to show neighbor to the south only halfway my driveway, but it also shows on Beacon that I own his whole cap, which he was finalizing shortly, pretty much right when I was moving in. So that can be a piece of discourse. Just you got to know where the property lines are the right way, I suppose.
And I'll comment on that. There's a fence line that's full. You know, half of it's there and half of it's not. But you can see the line all the way from the highway. And when Bill Sargent was my neighbor when I first got there the first 10 or 12 years, and he told me that that's where the property line was. And then when I moved in, there was flags, like a surveyor came and put flags, and they were about a foot or two on the south side of that fence. All the way from the highway, orange flags. And about every 50 or 100 feet all the way up the hill into the trees, there's flags. And as far as I know, they're still there, but they get trampled and trees fall on them and stuff like that. And then when he moved in, all at once there's some new flags, and they were about in the same spot, a couple feet on the south side of the old fence. And when I inquired with a legal representation, they told me if you have a neighbor and you both agree on where the property line is for 10 years, and nobody has any qualms, no arguing, this is where it's at, that's where it's at, legally. Even if you decided to survey it, you know, which we could, and move it, but if we're both okay with where we think it's at, then legally that stands. Not. I don't know if you guys have any doings with any of that kind of stuff. Have you studied that law?
We don't, that all gets handled through surveyors.
Okay.
And the court systems. Yeah,
But that's what my lawyer told me. And he says, I'm very familiar with
sure.
boundary lines. He says, if there's no disagreement, 10 years, that's where it's at.
So you're saying this cabin, this white building is actually on your property?
Okay.
As far as the fence and
As far as the fence and the flags.
but Beacon,
But Beacon shows that
that it's not, okay.
way
that's
over
fair.
there, but then that means I own, then my other property line is way over on my other neighbors too.
All the joint subdivision.
Yeah, it looks like it's all shifted, but I don't think it's accurate.
Beacon isn't always accurate.
What's that?
Beacon isn't always accurate
know.
online.
That's what I think too.
Well, but if he had to have a survey, which are the new flags you're saying when he bought the house.
Well, I don't know, but then I talked to somebody about it and they says they don't think survey, they think just the realtor stuck them in the ground so that people would know where the front boundary was.
Okay, well, let's go on to staff report.
Yeah.
And we'll see, and then we can have a board discussion about it. Does that sound good?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't, it is important between me and Tom that we're good neighbors and we're agree on the property. And I'm okay with where it's at. But if he's gonna be selling his property in 2 or 3 or 5 years down the road, his new neighbors are gonna wanna know, hey, is that cabin on my ground or stuck your ground?
Sure.
So we kind of agreed that we'll split cost on getting it surveyed if we need to.
Okay.
On when it's time for you to sell or whenever.
It was tough for me because I had to buy but I bought the house sight unseen. So there was a lot to be left desired to hand off. To say the least, the house wasn't in the best of conditions. And the owner who I bought it from bought the house and lived in it for 2 years from the family that lived in it for 30.
Bill Sargent.
And there wasn't a lot of presence within there. So the house almost became foreclosed seemingly. And then we've been just figuring stuff out as we go. So it's been challenging.
I know the feeling. That was my house.
In my house, I bought my house and it sat vacant for 3 years. And the neighbors were using it for a party house. So they were a little bit upset with me for having some guy from Nebraska coming in to buy their party house And so we haven't been good neighbors since. They tried to kicking me out pretty early on. They didn't even know who their name were, trying to get rid of me already, so.
So in the staff report, Mills County zoning ordinance, I wanted to make sure it was clear, so I provided you some additional documentation. So currently, two-family use of the property, which in the two-family use in the zoning ordinance, it's described out as two separate buildings or on one parcel for residential use is a conditional use in the Les Hills zoning district. Now, Iowa law changed July 1st, and that change allows for counties, it says counties shall allow a minimum of one accessory dwelling unit on the same lot as a single family residence in accordance with, and there's some conditions in there. The accessory dwelling unit should not exceed 1,000 square feet or 50% of the size of the single family residence, whichever is larger. It takes away counties' rights of putting any kind of design criteria on there, to where they would have to match the same kind of build style as the large house on property. So in thinking of that, the state has now granted, these are no longer, two-family use of the property is no longer a conditional use of it. So the 180, he's got two ADUs on the property. One of them is now legal by the state of Iowa to be there. So we're really talking about, do we grant conditional use then to allow the third one to be up on the property? That's what would be above and beyond for us today. And the property is large enough would be large enough to accommodate the structures that are there. I wouldn't have any concerns about room for septics or wells to supply utility service to the property for that. So it really comes down to making sure that the permits are secured for the structures that we're going to do. My recommendation of it is to approve the application for the conditional use permit for a two-family residential use in Les Hills Conservation District, but I recommend these following conditions be on there. And that is that applicants secure the necessary building permits and engineering inspections for the certificates of occupancy on the structure. Second, that the applicant secure septic permits through Mills County Environmental Health and install code compliance systems. Number 3 is that the property owner would secure a survey to show that the structures are on the lot of request. And the fourth one would be is that the parking and access be through the applicant's property on there, because I know Beacon's obviously off in this situation, but we don't know how far it's off. And we would still there could still be a situation where that it would have to come back in and ask for a potential side yard variance if that structure is not held 10 feet into his property, which would be the required side yard of the property of it. And I think at that time, if it were to be, if the board were going to, it'd be a different subject. So that'd be based on kind of the following findings of fact. And number 1 would be that the two-family residential is a listed conditional use in the district. Number 2 is that 195th Street is a paved county road and that the additional dwellings wouldn't impact the road system. Number 3 is that the state of Iowa had recently changed the law, which now counties must allow at least one accessory dwelling unit on any lot that contains a single family dwelling.
Okay. Board discussion?
Do we need to worry about 911 addresses for them?
We do have to have that discussion with the assigning of the addresses. There should have, and it's going to have to be kind of a county holistic conversation as to how do they want to do this. Do they want to keep the one street marker and go with a unit A, B, and C kind of system, or do they want to assign it another 911 address to each structure that's up there? The 911 system, what I have been told, the way that it works, right, is if I call it from my cell phone, it locks on to the location of that cell phone and heads toward that unit. It's a bit different system than the old landline style where they would call in from, but That's what it's, so we've had had some preliminary conversations just internally talking about, you know, what would that look like, and we need to have that conversation with the county.
Yeah, these cabins don't have accessible driveways. Yes,
So they would still have to use your main driveway to go up it.
and parking. That's I have a fair weather road that for construction and for cutting wood back there and stuff like that, where I can drive back. But it's not a daily use or anything like that.
And that's part of what we have to address also with the ADU piece to this, and with state not requiring it. One piece that it staved off in there is you don't want a bunch of road accesses cut in, right? You want to be able, if the person's going to have an ADU, it needs to be shared access with the original structure that is there. It becomes all kinds of problems at the engineer's office and traffic things, so if you start a whole bunch of entrances.
Well, if I'm understanding this right, he has a current secondary dwelling that's legal right now. And he's asking for a third.
Correct.
And that is allowed, because up until now, we could only allow one. Correct? But now with the change in July 1.
Up until now, it took a conditional use to have to do.
Two total.
Yes, you got 2 total with the conditional use.
This seems kind of weird. Now a county allow a minimum. So what's the maximum?
They did not put a maximum on it.
So they have to have enough, they have to have enough room, the 50% here. It's got to be 50% less or less than the size of the single family. And what about the land requirements? I mean, there's no requirements. It just seems weird. For so long, it was.
So
to
this
max.
was a joint venture between the AARP, that kind of went with some people in the state to make this happen. It's cities and counties. I've just given you the rules for the counties. It will, on our side, the county side of it, we do have a lobbyist for our group, and he went there and really tried to push the subject of, you know, this is going to be tough in small lot situations with septic systems. And I really do, I think septic systems are going to dictate much of this on those smaller ones. Now, the larger ones like this, right, the counties, we really do have to kind of think at some point, I mean, because potentially, I mean, there would be, you know, what would it be if there were 10 out there? We have to be able to say that we're stopping at this number. We're not going to allow any more than that.
It'd be up to the county supervisor.
Right, yeah, that'll have to be when the code modification happens, that we say.
Because is it now that it's one septic per unit or?
It varies. People will share septics. You know, they might have to, it might be a point where they're upgrading the septic on their main house. So they're just like, we'll just tie this unit into that unit. In the situation like this, you're so spread out, you would have to have separate systems for
This is
each
too
one.
far.
Yeah, because you'd be winding up with a bunch of pump pits or something like that.
That's what I have now is separate, but it's not big.
Wasn't the cart kind of ahead of the horse here? We need to know where the true property line is. It's like you said, if we approve it and then we find out it's on the line or not at the set book, then he has to come back in and redo it, right?
And that's why it's a condition of this one to even have it, would be that they obtain a survey.
We approve it and it is, then we're not liable if it's not inside his property.
Right.
Because we're saying it has to be. It has to be in order for us to do it. Well, obviously, for your best interest, I think you guys should find out where that property line is, for sure.
Well, he wants to make sure that we're gonna approve it before he pays for the survey.
Yeah, because I'm.
Okay, so if we approve it with that condition, then that's.
Yes.
good.
Corey, do you have anything? Corey?
Mute button.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think in my opinion, you look at it and say if you approve or whatever, finding a survey, but I think the survey is critical on the whole thing.
Why you put it as one of the conditions.
Yes.
You already got it.
Number 3 right there, if that property line experienced a survey to show that the structures are on the lot in question. So that's what we're approving, is you guys survey and if it's there, then it's fine.
Gonna have to get an engineer. People to come out and
For your initial one, did you get a conditional one for the first accessory structure? No. Did you start it before 2008?
yes.
Okay, that's probably okay, because you started,
That's what.
zoning came in 2008. Okay,
Anything else?
okay, we got a lot of gray area here.
We deal with gray area.
Yeah. We're used to
So we
that.
have people.
That's why we're here. Anybody want to make an action?
I will make a motion that we approve, providing that all the staff recommendations are met.
Okay. Including this one?
Yeah, the parking access needs to be through the owner's property.
You ready to get good enough? Okay.
I'll second,
You'll second?
I'll second.
So Ted, approved, and Heather second.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Corey,
Yes,
Ted Golka,
Yes,
Pat Collin,
Yes.
Jennifer Warren,
Yes.
Heather Jenrick.
Do we have any other business?
I can offer up that if you are interested in an ADU seminar, they're going to have a webinar this Thursday from the Iowa League of Cities, who are doing some draft ordinances for cities and counties to potentially look at. If anybody's interested, I can forward it with
I'm driving to Indiana. Or else I might have. It depends on the day. Thursday's my light meeting day.
That's the only other business that I would
Your
have.
county
Right.
tax assessors are gonna be busy adding all the new properties on.
Last meeting, you talked about re-looking at the landfill requirements.
Yeah.
That was up for review.
They're gonna be coming in August.
So the August meeting is that?
Yeah.
Does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn this meeting, or does this need to be on?
This can be under other
Okay.
business, just so
Okay,
everybody's aware.
perfect.
So yes, we're sending a letter to the landfill, have them come in August. To give an update on where they're at with the current conditions that have been assigned to them. The Board of Supervisors recently, and Jack, if you'd like to speak with this, you're more than welcome to have them come in and kind of give the board a bit of an update. But with you being the governing body over that conditional use permit, I feel like and that was a part of one of their conditions was that they were gonna come back in 12 months and give you all an update on where they were at. And I think there's a bunch of changes going on at that point in time that got missed, so we want to make sure that we follow through, have them come in. I think there's some things with the road, that was a condition on there that haven't been quite done yet. Landscaping pieces of it have not been taken yet, so. We want to get them kind of up to date.
You still have that documentation for when that meeting was. I think it was 2020, right in the middle of COVID, and it was at the high school gymnasium, high school auditorium.
We do have all the documentation from it, yes.
We had them come in to talk about the grass seeding on the north side. They have to seed it eventually, so they're starting work on that. And then I brought up to them that we'd like them to come in over the next few months and landed on August. Matt and Audra did. And it's pretty clear in the conditional use permit that they didn't meet all the stipulations that were set. And they had a year to be able to do that. They didn't do that. We're 5 years now. So I guess it's really going to be to you guys, whether you allow them to keep on the current track, whether you say, we want you to get this done before you start using it as an actual landfill, or talk to the county attorney's office, see what the rules are regarding revoking the conditional use permit, bringing it back, putting in more stipulations, and then sending it back to them for another approval. So that's up to you guys.
I know it's a huge issue for a lot of people. We've got trash from all over the damn country coming into our county.
Mhm.
Well, it's something that I've heard a lot of complaints about, and to be honest with you, not to give out my view too much, but you never give up leverage when you have it. So
I agree. So would that be on the second Tuesday next month, 12th then,
Right.
our meeting?
Mhm. I don't think we have any other cases right now other than
Thanks.
Mhm.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Ted,
I'll second it.
Pat.
Thanks, Corey. Have a good night.
Bye, Corey.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night too.
I.
Kind of like watching on TV.